Hey, what's up, everybody? Mogi Monster here, and welcome to Why the Fascination, or WTF as I like to call it. Today I'll be talking with me. I don't have a guest today, so it's time for me to tell you my stories and why the fascination for me, where it started. Um, I guess it started at an early age, um, earlier than I realized. But for now, we'll start it. Like when I was 13. Um, Yeah, when I was 13, I went on a camping trip with my dad, my two sisters, and my sister's boyfriend. And we were camping up along the Delaware River on the Jersey side, just across from Pennsylvania. And my dad and my sister and I decided we're going to go for a hike. And we go for this hike, and it's up a mountain. And as we're going up the mountain along this path, coming down the mountain next to the path was a stream. So as we're going up, I see this long rock. It's probably 15, 20 feet long. And it looks like the perfect water slide because the water is just cascading over it. So, at 13, it looked like a water slide and a good idea. It wasn't. I went to the top of this rock and hopped on and pushed off. And I mean, I want to say it was sliding. It's probably closer to falling. Um, but yeah, I dropped that 20 feet in no time, and when I landed, I landed in the crouch position. So my knees were up to my chest, and that's where my body landed. Um, the only way I can describe it is like if you I can't. I mean, I know there's a lot of guys out there that have done this. You're riding your bike and you're fooling around, and somehow you end up going over the handlebars. The bike stops, but you keep going. Um, that's basically the only way I can describe it is when my body stopped, my spirit and my soul kind of tumbled out of me. So for I don't know 2 seconds, I was like looking at myself, if that makes sense. I was like over there on my hands and knees looking at myself in that squatted position. It only lasted like 2 seconds, but I remember it, perfectly. Um, and it was weird because as I started to come back to myself, like back into my body, everything. It appeared that everything was going in slow motion. Um, I saw my dad freaking out. He saw me hit, and he just, he had a camera in one hand. He threw the camera up and, screamed my name and started running towards me. And as I came back into myself, time sped up, and I could see everything at normal speed. And that's when I realized that I screwed up. um, I got up. My dad grabbed me and he helped me up, and I limped out of the woods. He wanted to carry me, but I wouldn't let him. My knee was bleeding, and I was banged up and kind of hurting. So we walk out of the woods, and I I laid down on a picnic table. My sister stayed with me. My little sister, she was probably 11 at the time. She stayed with me, and my dad went back to camp and got the ranger and an ambulance and what have you. And I just, waited for the ambulance to get there. When they brought me to the hospital, I had to go to a Pennsylvania hospital because that was closest. I think it was Strasburg, East Strasburg, whatever it was, right over by the Delaware Water Gap. Um, when when they released me, I looked like I broke everything. They thought I broke both legs, my arm, my back. So they had me pretty, um, what's the word? Restrained. Cast on one leg or two splints and just crazy shit. And we had to drive back down to our hospital. And my dad had a pickup truck with a cap on it, and there was a bunk, in the back. So I was all, pulled the bunk forward, got in, pushed the bunk back, and I stayed there. And when it was all said and done, after we went to the other hospital, all as I broke was my ankle, which thank God, kind of screwed up my summer because now I had a cast on all summer long. But yeah, that was probably my first experience with the paranormal or something. It's an outer body experience, if you ask me. And I've been telling this story forever, and it hasn't changed, and that's my experience with that. That was when I was 13. When I was 26, we found out my mom was sick. In November of '92, we found out she was sick. She had cancer. And we had driven out. She was living in Peoria, Illinois at the time. My sister had moved out there, and she got pregnant, so my mom went out to, be with her and help her with the baby and whatnot. So we found out she was sick and made a couple trips out there. And then come August, the first week in August, second week in August, my sister called me and, said Mommy wasn't doing good. So we drove out there, and that was the third time we've driven out there. And we went to see her at the hospital, and, I didn't realize how bad she was, how far gone she was. Because, we visited her in the hospital, and she wasn't coherent, but I knew she heard us. She couldn't respond, but, I understood that. So while we were there, we gave her permission, and we said, "It's okay, Mom, you can go home now. And, we love you," and, all the things you'd say. So that night, or the next night, was the first time that anybody had stayed with her. My little sister, my younger sister, stayed with her that night. And around 5:20 in the morning, my sister got up to go get coffee. And when she left the room, and the time it took her to leave and come back, my mom passed away. And I truly believe, and my sister believes it too, and my other sister, that she knew that my sister left the room, and she didn't want to die with her in the room. So when my sister left the room, my mom passed. And my sister calls me up, or calls the house. I was at my other sister's house, and, she tells us that Mommy passed. And first thing I said was, "It's about time." It sounds terrible, but she was suffering, and nobody wanted to see her suffer. So, what can you do? So that night, well, let me back up a little bit. Out there in Illinois, you guys know, if you're into the church and somebody passes, people are going to show up at your house with food. And they did. And there was a lot of food. But I don't know what it is with the Midwesterners, but you guys like your Miracle Whip. Ugh, that stuff is disgusting. But so everything, every salad, every whatever had Miracle Whip in it. I just couldn't deal with it. So I told my sister, I said, "Hey, let's let's go get some dinner and, just get away, have a drink, whatever. So as we're heading out, we hop in the car and we're going to go to this restaurant. As we're going out, this storm is coming in. And it was the most amazing storm I had ever seen, as far as lightning goes. And it was just this constant strobe lightning, and it was just amazing. Now, you have to understand that I grew up with my mom till I was like 13. And growing up, we grew up on the Jersey Shore community, beach community. And in the 70s, I guess it was just the power grid sucked because every storm that would come through, the lights would go out, and we loved it. We loved when the lights went out, because especially at night, we'd sit around and play board games and, Monopoly or whatever, with candlelight, and we loved that. So kind of gives you the backstory on that. So we head out, storm's moving in. My mom had just passed that morning, and we're looking at this lightning going, this is unusual, and then my sister looked at me and I looked at her, and it was like, this is mommy. So, we were digging that. So we go to this restaurant, have dinner. We leave there and we decide to go to this bar. And the storm is still raging, and it's just crazy, the lightning. So we sit down at the bar, order a drink, and you guys might know, if you know how to play Yahtzee, you'll understand this. At the bar they'd call it Shake a Day, or something else, where you would pay like a quarter and you get one roll a day. And depending on what the dice roll was, that you could win shit. You could win a drink. You could win money. You could win a 6-pack. So I gave the quarter to the bartender and rolled. And first roll, I win a 6-pack. It's like, right on. So I give the cup to my sister, and she rolls, and she gets a free roll. She rolls again. She gets a free roll. She rolls a third time, and she wins a 6-pack. Now, the bartender is looking at us kind of strange, and I couldn't help but ask. I looked at the bartender. I said, how often does that happen? The bartender just shakes their head. He said, it doesn't. I was like, right on. So I listened for a second, and I turned to my sister. I said, hey, check out the song on the jukebox. She turns around, she listens, and she turns like, not pale, but she realized what song was playing. It was AC/DC, Have a Drink on Me. So we looked at each other, and it was like, thanks, Mom. So that was the first time that anything really bizarre happened. And witnesses, excuse me. Now, if you fast forward to, that was in 1993. Fast forward to 2010, I'm in Arizona, and I was hanging out at this bar. It was a sports bar, and they had a karaoke system that, it was an older system, and I was going to try to get it up and running. So I go to this bar one day. There's no one there. It's middle of the day. The cook's there and the bartender's there. So I pull out the equipment, and I'm looking at the computer program and the equipment they've got, and just trying to figure it out. And there's some bull crap music playing, so I really wasn't feeling it. So I went back into the kitchen, and it was satellite radio. So I went in and I changed the station. I made sure it was okay, and I put a country station on. go back to work. I'd never touched the stereo before. I just found a station that was playing country music and turned that on. I go back in and dick around with the computer for a little bit while longer, and then I start talking to the cook. He's sitting at the bar having a drink. He's getting ready to leave, and we start talking. And he's all tatted out, and we're talking about tats, and I have a little tattoo on my right above my ankle. It's just a lightning bolt, maybe, that big. And it was in honor of my mom. So I proceed to tell him the story that I just told you about how it ends with "have a drink on me." And when I told him that, he was like, "Oh shit," and he's like, "I got goosebumps and great story, but unfortunately I got to go." So the guy, the cook leaves, and I go outside to have a cigarette. Surprise. It's all these friggin' stories and cigarettes. I go out to have a cigarette, and it happened to be June 27th of 2010. And June 27th was my parents' original wedding anniversary. So whenever I talk to my mom, like holidays and other times, but I always talk out loud. I go outside and I'm having a cigarette and I say, "Happy anniversary, Mom. Miss you, love you." And then all of a sudden I got this feeling of doubt. And I was just about done with the cigarette and about to go back in. And just before I walked in, out loud, I said, "I hope that everything that I've been believing in all these years hasn't been bullshit." And I go inside and I walk over by the computer. I grab my pint glass and I go over to the bar. And I told you I changed the station on the satellite radio. And what I didn't realize was, I guess the karaoke and house music and everything went through the same amplifier, and I think it was overheating because all of a sudden there'd be no music. I mean, the music was on, but you wouldn't hear it, or then it would come back on and it would get loud. So when I walked in, I wasn't paying attention and I didn't hear any music, but whatever. I go to the bar and I have the pint glass, and as soon as the bartender's like, "You want another one?" I said, "Sure." As soon as I put that glass on the bar, like that, the music got loud, like louder than it normally was. And behind the bar, there's a shelf, and on the shelf are 3 Patron bottles, tequila. And one of those bottles blows its cork, which it's not carbonated, it's tequila. So yeah, glass goes down, music goes up, cork goes up, bartender turns white. She was like, "What the hell's going on?" And I realized what was going on because 30 seconds before, I just was talking to my mom and doubted everything. So I had to explain to the bartender afterwards what happened. But the music got loud, and I listened to it for a second, and I start laughing. The name of the song, and I said it to the bartender, I had to explain it to her. The name of the song was "So Do You Believe Me Now?" So, yeah, I do. I couldn't doubt it anymore, even though, 5 minutes before, or 5 minutes, a minute, less than a minute before, I was saying, "I hope what I believe in isn't bullshit." Well, I got my answer. So yeah, those are my experiences that, my good experiences. I mean, I think I've only had one bad experience, and I was living in a house where unfortunately the owners of the house were brutally murdered in the house. And I moved in about 2 years later. It was my sister's friend's house. It's her parents. I knew them. I knew her brother. Her brother did the murder. But I needed a place to stay, so I stayed in the house. And one night, I was in bed. It might sound weird, but when I moved in, I took over the master bedroom, the parents' bedroom, just because it had its own bathroom. So I was in the house alone. I lived there alone. The girl who owned it was down in Maryland. And one weekend, she came up with her husband and their dog to spend the weekend and, get things in order or whatever they were doing. And, excuse me. The one night I was in bed and I was sleeping, and I hear the dog, like, in the room, in my room. Like, I left the door open, whatever. And she was making noise, and I called the dog by its name and said, "Knock it off." But by this time I was awake. My eyes were open, and I said, "Knock it off." And as soon as I said that, I'm facing the bathroom. The bathroom's just over there at the door. And I see this blue flash come out of the bathroom, like an electrical arc. It's that blue. And out of the bathroom comes a blue orb. And I'm guessing, I think it was about the size of a tennis ball. It passes in front of the bed, and I watch it go by, and then it just disappears. I rolled over and went back to bed. I mean, it didn't freak me out or anything. But another time, I was downstairs, different night. I was in the library, called a library, it could be a den, but it's between the kitchen and the living room. And something in the living room to my left caught my attention, and I don't know. I don't remember what it was, but I remember standing up and going to the doorway of the living room, and the hair on the back of my neck stood up. I mean, everything stood up. And I got this fear. I mean, I was fucking scared. But, I mean, I got so scared, I got mad. And I was that scared that it pissed me off, and I started yelling at nothing in the room. I didn't see anything, but I'm like, "Come on," all fucking tough guy. And, that's, and it passed, and it was just weird, but I remember yelling, at nothing in the room. But I had felt that primal fear. So, if you're ever in the woods and you hear somebody yelling, because, maybe I ran into Bigfoot, that'll be me. That's how it would go. I just start mouthing off to Bigfoot. So yeah, those are my ghost stories. And I think I'm gonna leave it there, and I'll do another video to explain some other shit that's going on with me. I don't know what to call it. Sensitive, psychic. I don't know. I'm learning about this, but I realized just recently, I realized that, the stuff that's been going on in my life actually started when I was a kid. When I was like, I don't remember how old, 10 years old. I don't know. But I didn't realize it at the time. Until I had stuff happen in the past year that I look back on it and go, huh, maybe that's what was going on. But I'll save that for another video. I mean, we're already 25 minutes into this, and I don't want to do another hour video. I mean, just for your guys' sake, we'll do another video soon. But I want to thank you guys for watching. Be sure to hit that like, subscribe, share, and if you guys have a story you want to tell, please, I'm not begging, but I could use some stories. Hit me up at monstemogollon, monstermogollon @gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook, Mogollon Monsters with an S. Yeah, I have some calls I have to make. I'm trying to get some other stories going, but I need more. So please, you want to, hear your story or tell your story more. I'd prefer if you told it. Send me your contact information, whatever, and we'll get that going. I just think it's better for you to tell your own story rather than me narrate. And it's comfortable. You guys have seen the videos that I do, and it's just laid back, and you can ask, you see Mike, Kirk, I can't say his fucking name, Kirkpatrick. Sorry, Mike. You guys see him in chat all the time, and he's always, self-promoting and promoting me, and it's freaking awesome. And Mike, thank you. You're doing a great job with that. But you ask him, I mean, it's not like doing a live chat, it's just, hey, we screw up, I'll edit it out, or I won't. You just, relax and tell your story. So if that's something you're interested in, hit me up and we'll get that going. I think that's about it. Yeah, that's it. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, again, hit the share, like, subscribe. Also leave, definitely leave comments. I want to hear from you. If you're not going to, send a story, hey, just tell me you appreciate it, or hey, you know what, that sucked. Either way, I don't care. Let me know. So hopefully I'll hear from you guys, and you'll be hearing from me soon. All right, guys. Well, you guys have a great day or evening or night, whatever time it is. And yeah, that's it. Peace and God bless. Bye, guys.